Disasters have a brutal way of stripping away titles, status, and ego. In the moments that matter most, the heroes aren't the loudest or the most powerful. They're the ones who stay clear-headed when everyone else is frozen. They don't wear capes. Most of them don't even look like heroes. They look ordinary. They look like the person doing the unglamorous work no one thanks them for. Until the day it saves lives. On 9/11, the world watched catastrophe unfold in real time. And inside the towers, one of those quiet, unlikely, and sadly forgotten heroes was already moving. For years, the employees at Morgan Stanley rolled their eyes when they saw him coming. He was the man with the bullhorn, the man who interrupted their trading days, the man who made high-powered executives walk down 40 flights of stairs when they had work to do. They called him an alarmist. They called his drills a waste of time. They joked about how serious he took his job as the head of security. But Rick Rescorla didn't care if they liked him. He only cared if they survived. Welcome to Footnotes of History, where we bring the side characters onto the center stage, where we tell the stories that complete history, the overlooked people, and those forgotten moments. Rick was not a typical corporate security guard. He was a man shaped by the fires of Vietnam. He was a British-born soldier who had seen the worst humanity could offer in the Ia Drang Valley. He carried the scars of war, but he also carried a deep protective instinct. He looked at the Twin Towers not as symbols of wealth, but as fragile giants, especially after the car bomb attack of 1993. Rick saw the danger. He told his superiors that the towers were a target. He predicted an attack from the air years before it happened. He demanded that the company leave the building for a safer location in New Jersey. When the lease ended and they decided to stay, Rick made a choice. If he couldn't move the people out of the building, he would teach them how to escape it. So the drills began. Every few months, he would shut down business. He would grab his megaphone. He would march bankers, assistants, and traders into the stairwells. He timed them with a stopwatch. If they were too slow, they did it again. He taught them to ignore the elevators. He taught them to partner up. He was relentless. He was annoying. He was strict. On the morning of September 11th, 2001, Rick was at his desk early. It was a beautiful, clear morning in New York City. The sky was a perfect, piercing blue. At 8:46 a.m., the first plane struck the North Tower. The impact shook the South Tower, where Morgan Stanley occupied 22 floors. The lights flickered. The building swayed like a pendulum. Rick grabbed his bullhorn immediately. Moments later, an announcement came over the Port Authority public address system. The voice was calm. It told everyone in the South Tower to stay put. "The building is secure," the voice said. "Please return to your offices." Most people would have listened. It is human nature to want to believe that everything is safe. It is natural to want to stay where it is comfortable. Rick Rescorla grabbed his radio. "Piss off," he reportedly yelled back at the system, though only those near him heard. "I'm getting my people out." He ignored the official orders. He ignored the protocol. He triggered the evacuation he had practiced 100 times. "Everybody up," he commanded, 2 by 2, just like we practiced. Because of his annoying drills, the employees knew exactly what to do. There was fear, yes, but there was no chaos. They knew where the stairs were. They knew the rhythm. Then, at 9:03 a.m., the second plane hit. It struck the South Tower. The building groaned under the trauma. Heat and smoke began to fill the upper levels. The stairwells became hot and tight. Panic began to rise in the throats of the thousands of people trying to descend. The smell of jet fuel was thick. The walls were hot to the touch. This is where Rick Rescorla did something that no manual could teach. He realized that fear was the enemy. If people panicked, they would clog the stairs. If they clogged the stairs, they would die. So, Rick started to sing. He grabbed his megaphone, not to shout orders, but to lift spirits. He went back to his roots. He sang old songs from his childhood in Cornwall. He sang Men of Harlech. His voice boomed through the concrete stairwell. It was steady, it was strong. "Men of Cornwall, stop your dreaming," he sang. "Can't you see their spear points gleaming?" Imagine that moment. You are terrified. You are surrounded by smoke. You don't know if you will see your family again. And then you hear a song. You look up and see the head of security, the man who annoyed you for years, standing on a landing. He is smiling, he is calm, he is telling you to keep moving. "Be proud to be an American," he told them. "Everyone will be talking about you tomorrow." His calm was contagious. It moved down the line like a wave. People stopped shoving. They focused on his voice. They kept walking. Rick worked his way down, clearing floor after floor. But he didn't leave. When he reached a lower level, he turned around. He started climbing back up. He had to make sure no one was left behind. He had to check the stragglers. He had to check the bathrooms. He had to check the offices where people might be frozen in fear. Between the chaos, he managed to make a phone call to his wife, Susan. He didn't tell her he was trapped. He didn't tell her he was afraid. "Stop crying," he told her gently. "I have to get these people out safely. If something happens to me, I want you to know I've never been happier. You made my life." It was the last time she heard his voice. Rick Rescorla was last seen on the 10th floor, heading upward into the heat and the darkness. He was still, guiding people down. He was still singing. Shortly after, the South Tower collapsed. The dust settled over the city. The silence that followed was heavy and terrible. But in the days that followed, a miracle began to emerge from the numbers. Morgan Stanley was the largest tenant in the South Tower. They had 2,687 employees in the building that morning. Based on where the plane hit, hundreds should have been lost, maybe thousands. But when the final count was done, around a dozen Morgan Stanley employees were lost. Rick Rescorla, along with a few of his security deputies, was among them. He had successfully evacuated nearly 3,000 people. He got them out before the tower fell. He saved them because he was stubborn. He saved them because he prepared them. The drills that everyone hated were the reason fathers came home to their children that night. The stopwatch he used was the reason mothers hugged their sons again. He knew that the world was dangerous. He knew that relying on official orders wasn't always enough. He took personal responsibility for every single soul in his care. Today, there are thousands of people walking the earth who owe their breath to the man with the bullhorn. They remember the singing. They remember the Cornish folk songs echoing off the concrete walls. Rick Rescorla didn't just do his job. He fulfilled a promise he made to himself a long time ago, to protect those who could not protect themselves. He showed us that true heroism isn't just about bravery in the moment. It is about the quiet, unglamorous work of preparation. It is about caring enough to be annoying. He died as he lived, leading, protecting, and singing.